I've played every game in the mainline Pokémon series since the first was released in the UK back in 1999. The following will be my ranking of all 9 pairs of games from each generation. To clarify, this list includes only the original mainline games. It does not include remakes, remasters, reimaginings, sequels, or spin-offs. In 9th place, Pokémon Scarlet and Violet. Performance issues and a lack of innovation truly disappoint. Pokémon Scarlet and Violet was the next game after the very well regarded Pokémon Legends Arceus. Legends Arceus offered more open environments than previous games, as well as a new way to capture Pokémon. It reinvigorated the formula, and so we were expecting many of these to be expanded upon in Scarlet and Violet. That didn't really happen. If anything, the series took several steps back. It did incorporate the open world idea, however, due to performance issues, this was not done well. The draw distance of the graphics while moving about the map makes it impossible to tell where anything is beyond a few meters in front of you, totally negating some of the advantages of an open world. The battles take place in the open world rather than transitioning away to a battle screen, which is nice, but the battles remain your usual turn-based combat, which at this point has become very stale. Put this together with some fairly uninspired new Pokemon designs and the insanely poor frame rate, and you have a game that, for many, is simply unplayable. It's a little better since they've updated it, but it's still by far the worst game in the series to date. In 8th place, Pokémon Sword and Shield. The story doesn't make much sense, but the wild area is loads of fun. Pokémon Sword and Shield were the first mainline games to hit the Nintendo Switch, so expectations were high. The revelation then that many Pokémon were being left out of this one came as quite a shock to long-time Pokémon fans. At the time, this caused a lot of controversy, but in retrospect, it was actually a good idea. Not needing to include every Pokémon allowed the team to work on all the new features in the game, a much better use of their time. Though you could argue that if they decided to take some time and not insist on releasing a new game every year, they could have accomplished both. In any case, we ended up with a pretty decent game overall. The wild area is the big standout feature of this game. Being able to wander around the open environment, catching Pokemon and exploring was a breath of fresh air for the franchise. The Dynamax feature has its detractors, but I rather enjoyed it. On the flip side, the story is pretty poor, the main villain's machinations make no sense, and the rest is all a bit tame. The game also lacks depth and is incredibly easy. Overall, it's a fun game, but it lacks the quality of some of its predecessors. In 7th place, Pokémon X and Y. Introduced 3D graphics and Mega Evolution, but sadly lacks in every other department. Pokémon X and Y was the first in the main series to incorporate 3D graphics with all new models for every single Pokémon, including 72 new ones. It also introduced the Fairy type, a controversial addition which completely nerfed Dragon types throughout the franchise. Despite this being unpopular with some, I see it as a much needed addition to the franchise that brought a lot of balance. The best idea to be introduced though was Mega Evolution. Not only did it give us a new dimension to our battle tactics, it also adds some absolutely incredible new designs for some popular Pokemon. Overall, the series' transition to full 3D is beautiful. The environments are incredible and some of the Pokemon designs look great. However, some of the Pokemon designs look not so great. The transition from 2D to 3D has removed the heart and soul from some of the classic Pokemon. It's forgivable given the size of the task to create all these models, but it's noticeable nonetheless. As well as that, the story is pretty cookie cutter and the game is fairly linear. It has a few flaws, but given the game's scale and all the good things it gave us, it's still a great game with a lot of value. In 6th place, Pokémon Black and White. Tons of new Pokemon, new battle types, and one of the best stories ever make this one to play. Pokemon Black and White's Unova region is notable for introducing more new Pokemon than even the original games, 156 to be precise. They're a mixed bunch, with some designs better than others, but overall it makes the region feel original and brand new. The game introduced some great new battle types, my personal favourite being the rotation battles. It adds an extra layer of unpredictability to the battles which makes them a lot of fun. It also introduced the seasonal cycle, allowing for some cool seasonal Pokemon variants. The best part of the game, however, is the story. It manages to spin the usual formula of earning gym badges while facing off against some evil organisation into something with a little more emotional depth. The character of N is by far the most interesting, and his story gets built on in the sequels, Black 2 and White 2. It's a great game, and while it mostly follows the same formula as previous games in the series, it introduces enough new features to keep it fresh. Having practically a whole Pokédex worth of new Pokémon really helps keep the mystery alive, and a great story keeps it engaging. In 5th place, Pokémon Sun and Moon. Some key changes to the usual formula breathe life into the franchise. Pokémon Sun and Moon came out close to the end of the 3DS's lifespan, so expectations were reasonably low for this one, so we were pleasantly surprised at how good this turned out to be. For the first time in the series, the usual collect 8 gym badges formula was dropped in favour of the Island Challenge, which was somewhat reminiscent of the Orange Islands plot that filled the gap between the Red, Blue and Gold Silver seasons of the Pokémon TV show. This was a welcome change as the gyms were getting a bit stale. 81 brand new Pokémon were added to this game, a sizable amount, including for the first time, regional forms. This took some classic Pokémon and redesigned them with new types, new moves and new looks. While overall this was a great idea, I still don't think I can forgive them for what they did to poor Persian. Put that together with a fantastic story and you get one of the best Pokémon games ever. It did just enough to reinvigorate the franchise for another year and introduce some changes that have endured since. They were even improved upon a year later with the enhanced Ultra versions, which are the versions I'd recommend. In 4th place, Pokémon Ruby and Sapphire. Double battles and a great legendary pair make for a great adventure. Pokémon Ruby and Sapphire were the first to come out on the Game Boy Advance, and with more powerful hardware comes more features. These games gave some great new features that not only added much needed complexity and balance to creature development, but also added a new battle type to shake up the formula. Double battles are great, but Pokémon abilities are by far this game's biggest contribution to the series. It's affected not only the single player game, but the competitive scene too. 135 new Pokémon were added for this one, including 3 amazing starters. But my favourites are definitely the legendaries. It's the first game in the series where the legendaries actually feel like their presence has real implications for the whole Pokémon world. The story is the usual formula, but with the whole world at stake, which makes it all feel a bit more important. Overall, it adds a lot of great new features, great Pokémon and a great story. Its release was the moment you felt like the Pokémon franchise had truly arrived. In 3rd place, Pokémon Gold and Silver. Chock full of new features and tons of exploration, go on an epic adventure across 2 regions and embrace your destiny. After the massive success of the first generation of Pokémon games, anticipation for Gold and Silver was massive. How could they possibly top Red, Blue and Yellow? Boy did they knock it out of the park. Let's start with all the new features. Firstly, they introduced a clock. While this doesn't sound like much at first, it meant there was a day and night cycle. This directly affects which Pokémon you can catch, as some only come out during certain parts of the day, or certain days of the week. Pokémon can now hold items, adding a whole new dimension to battles. There's also the Pokegear, which adds a bunch of different gadgets, including a phone, so that trainers can call you up for a rematch. But the most significant has to be the 2 new types that were introduced, Dark and Steel. With this came some revision of some of the original Pokémon, as well as a whole slew of great new ones. They also added Pokémon breeding in this one, and millions of Ditto all over the world screamed out in terror. If you know, you know. The story is similar to the first one, the twist being that once you've won the Pokémon League and become the champion, you unlock the entire region from the previous game, practically starting an entirely separate adventure. This all culminates with an epic encounter on top of a mountain with Red, the protagonist of the original game, set to one of the most incredible battle themes in gaming history. Pokémon Gold and Silver were beyond what anyone expected for a sequel, and it's for that reason they're still considered one of the best games in the series. In 2nd place, Pokémon Diamond and Pearl. Cosmic implications make for a stunning adventure with loads to do. Pokémon Diamond and Pearl are probably the best example of the original formula that you can experience. It starts off with you receiving one of my personal favourite 3 starters. I always go for Piplup, but Chimchar and Turtwig are both amazing choices too. You travel the region of Sinnoh, earning gym badges and getting roped into protecting the world from the twisted Team Galactic. On the surface, it's not that different from its predecessors, but it does everything so well that it makes playing the game an utter delight. All of the best features from previous games have been integrated while dropping the worst ones. On top of that, they added trading and battling over Wi-Fi for the first time, which was amazing. What truly sets these games apart though are the cosmic implications of its plot. In every game you've had legendary Pokemon that rule over a comparatively small thing, an element, the land, the sea, etc. However, these games' legendary trio govern time, space and antimatter, with their creator, Arceus, also having created the entire Pokemon universe. It adds a deepening of the Pokemon lore that was lacking from previous games, and explains why Pokemon are so integral to their world. At its core, it's a typical Pokemon game, but all the fantastic new Pokemon and its amazing story is what made it stand out ahead of its predecessors. It reinvigorated my love for the franchise and proved that the Pokemon games could have a good story. The next generation had a brilliant story too, which is why recent entries have been a bit disappointing. But if you're looking for optimised gameplay and a great plot about the origins of the Pokemon universe, Diamond and Pearl are the games for you. And the best mainline original Pokemon games in first place are Pokémon Red and Blue, the start of a billion-dollar franchise that changed not only gaming, but the world. The release of Pocket Monsters Red and Green in Japan in 1996 was the start of a video game revolution, and with their release in the West as Pokémon Red and Blue, they became a global sensation almost overnight. As a young boy myself at the time, I was only just starting to play more complex games, RPGs and the like that required skill and strategy. Then Pokemon came along and just solidified my love for RPGs. Despite being an RPG, a lot of people probably wouldn't think of Pokemon as such. They did such an amazing job of creating something that's complex yet so much fun that it appeals to people of all ages and genders. It revitalised interest in the Game Boy and started a phenomenon that has spawned multiple sequels and spin-offs, TV shows and movies, toys, a trading card game, restaurants and so much more. Its impact has been nothing short of spectacular, and it's arguable that no other video game has more of a cultural impact around the globe. But why are the games so good? Most RPGs at the time offered you 3 or 4 characters that you could level up as you played through the game. Pokemon offers you a choice of 150 different creatures, 6 of which you can have in your team at a time. This opened the doors to thousands of different team combinations, with every player having their favourite. Searching for and catching all the different Pokemon was a blast, then pitting them against other trainers while trying to figure out the best moves and type combinations meant it was fun and challenging at the same time. Add in the fact that you could connect to your friend's Game Boy with a link cable in order to battle each other's teams and trade monsters, and you had infinite possibilities. If you were the kid on the playground with the link cable, you were very popular indeed. On top of the amazing gameplay were the incredible characters, and of course the Pokemon themselves. The designs are iconic, they're simple and perfect. Every single creature has its own personality and traits, which makes choosing between them really hard. Okay, they're not all amazing, one is literally just a seal, but for the most part they captured the imagination of people everywhere, and with each new generation the most anticipated addition is always the new Pokemon designs. I could go on for days about the impact that Pokémon Red and Blue have had on me, never mind the rest of the world. They're not just the 2 best games in the Pokémon series, they're 2 of the greatest games of all time. And despite the series having its ups and downs over the years, it's that initial magic that keeps me coming back for more. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. You can also head on over to my channel and check out my rankings of games from the Final Fantasy and Metal Gear Solid franchises. Thanks again, and have a great day.